The strangers, believe me when I say, loving me is loving danger. Your heart is bound to break. Out alone in the night, beneath the pale moon, loving's for the fools. Baby, beware of my bite. I'm alone, I'm alone, I'm a lone wolf. 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 I'm a creeping through the shadows and the corners of your mind. I'm alone, I'm a lone wolf. 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 I'm a
Alright guys, I've lost my co-host. I don't know where he is. But yeah, no, I think it might be my fault. I think because I was a little bit late today, I kind of slept in a little. But hey, don't worry, we have a whole bunch of news to keep you all excited. We're going to get a little spicy, a little red pilling, and yeah. It's kind of funny actually, because we're going to start off with a little bit of a conspiracy theory of sorts. But let me check this out. Because there's actually something else I noticed about this article that is relevant. Here it is here. Alright guys. So let's just jump straight into the first article. So, Greenpeace founder, climate change crisis completely made up issue. Oof. Thank God he's not someone that's one of the leaders of like a environmental group, because whew, wouldn't that be a little inconvenient if he was to come out and say this. Now this is obviously not the first time he said this. He said this a few times. Yeah, interesting, but let's just jump straight into it. Greenpeace co-founder and former president of Greenpeace Canada, Patrick Moore, describes the left climate change narrative as a hoax and completely made up issue in Wednesday interview on SiriusXM's Breitbart News Tonight with host Rekha Mansour and special guest host Dylan Grenwin. Might be getting that name wrong. Hey Greg, how are you in chat? Yeah, that's actually what we're going to talk about next, actually. Today's environmental movement subscribes to an anti-human ideology, observed Moore. He described his 1986 departure from Greenpeace following the organization's shift from a humanitarian orientation towards an anti-human one. By 1986, the evolution that occurred was something that I couldn't live with, recalled Moore. So I left Greenpeace because we started with a strong humanitarian bent in order to save humanity and the environment from all our nuclear war. That's what green is, and the peace is in the peace. Environmental and people living peacefully, which seems like a really good idea. But here's the thing, instead of advocating for hostile harmony between humanity and the environment, today's environmental movement frames humans as enemies of the earth, Moore explained. By the end of the Save the Whale campaign and all the others of the rest of the environmental movement and Greenpeace, my fellow directors were basically treating humans as the enemies of Earth. Oof, getting a little spicy here, mate. He had switched over from the years of humans being part of nature to the part where we were fighting for being the enemies of what we could fighting for. And I don't see it the way because I'm an ecologist. I understand we all evolved from life on this earth together. We're all part of the same ecosystem and the same planet, and we shouldn't look at it if we're separate from nature. Sounds like my co-host just jumped in. We should look as if we're part of nature, and a part, of course, we are. So, I'm going to unmute him. Hello, Satellite. How are you?
G'day.
How are you, buddy? I thought I might have missed you.
Yeah, no, I was watching a video, and then I just noticed that you were actually green.
Yeah.
Yeah, green playing face rig. So
Yes.
I thought, all right, you must be live.
Doing my show. How are you, buddy? Oh, doing our show, I should say. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm good. My neck is really stiff and hurts. It's all really stiff all around my neck. It's awful.
Oh, okay. Well, at the moment, we're talking about Greenpeace. And we're talking
Yeah.
about the co-founder of Greenpeace claiming that Greenpeace has been corrupted, I would like to say, and has a anti-human bent, where it was supposed to be originally for a humanitarian, for the peace and benefit of humanity and the planet, not just one or the other.
I thought Greenpeace has been corrupted for a very long time.
Yeah, he's saying since 1986.
You know,
Yeah.
Greenpeace and anything to do with climate,
Change.
things to do with what do you call it? Activism, climate activism. Anything
Yeah.
to do with that. It's been pretty corrupt for quite a long time.
Yeah. And this is someone actually. Hi TL, by the way. I hope you enjoy your stay, mate. But this is something that I was going to say was this anti-human bent, and someone's mentioned it. Greg's mentioned it in chat. Sounds like Agenda 21. It does kind of get that feeling when you start talking about the way that they go on about, for example, is having children bad for the environment? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
are you trying to encourage people to wipe themselves out? Is it, is energetics something that you have maybe a slight interest in here? Maybe?
Well, you could really get into exactly what it is that they're doing, but do you want to keep your YouTube channel?
Maybe for a future episode of Chute. But yeah, like I say, look, at the end of the day, yeah, it's, and obviously, well, we're going to get a little spicy over the next day or two, guys, so strap in. Because we're going to be talking about Planned Parenthood and the roots.
Just remember the story of Icarus. He was flying too close to the sun and he didn't realize he was going to get burnt.
Yeah, well, I'll just make sure the shield's up at 100%. But yeah, we're going to be talking about Planned Parenthood and the roots of how Planned Parenthood was started and some of the interesting hobbies the original Planned Parenthood founders might have had. We'll leave it at that.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, like I say, I'm not against abortion, but I do think it is, not obviously not in certain circumstances, but I do think that it is important for the full facts to come out. So at the end of the day, yeah, I would say that, look, regardless of how people might get offended over it, we're non-partisan. Well, it's literally the name of the channel. We want everybody to have the full facts, and then you can make your own decision about what you want to do with your life. Or something else's life, for example. But let's just keep going with this article. More describes Greenpeace's left-wing shift and use of deception for self-serving financial ends. As the time went on, I watched Greenpeace evolved, basically hijacked by the extremist left. We were pretty centrist when we started. We were based in our position on science and logic, and as I saw it, I've been a scientist all my life. The orientation, not to make up stories, not to exaggerate unnecessarily, and I found that Greenpeace was just going off in the sensationalism and misinformation and using fear to get people to send them money. Fear of the world was coming to an end, which we heard repeated over and over and over again. Now with this final declaration by Alexandria Cortez, whatever her name is, that we have 12 years left until the end of the world, the facts is people have been saying that since the beginning of time. It never has, and it never... Sorry. It never has, and it never people. I don't get what he means by never. Well, I think that's a typo. But they get away with it. I think he's saying it never has and it never will, but people get away with it. Greenpeace has become corrupt after outliving its utility. Explain more. Although throughout history you see the organisations that start with the noble causes, and this applies really often. They start off with noble causes and then eventually evolve into a business where fundraising actually becomes the most important goal, because you've got to keep 200 people on salary. When we started, we were volunteers. We didn't have any salaries, but it's evolved that people have to live. People have to send money for the cause that you're promoting and become a business. But then a really nasty part happens. It turns into racketing, and that's what happened with Greenpeace. It happened a long time ago.
The guy who's saying this, he's one of the co-founders, right?
Yep.
That's why they're depersoning him, yeah. All right.
Yeah, we haven't got to that part yet. But yeah, we're going to talk about that in a sec. Burning fossil fuels returns carbon dioxide to the atmosphere from which it comes. History of climate change. Look, there's a lot of information. I don't know if you guys want me to keep reading this sort of stuff, or you've got the general gist. What do you reckon?
It's up to you, mate.
I think it's kind of important because he's sort of rebutting everything that they're saying. So we'll keep going for now. More added that Al Gore are basically snake oil salesmen, charlatans that are dealing this complete hoax of scare about the climate. And as you say, scaring young people into thinking that they're going to die. The environmental movement as it was in the 60s and 70s is not really necessary anymore in the North America or Europe, declared Moore. It's done its job, and it's perpetrated itself based on this so-called climate change crisis or catastrophe that doesn't actually exist. Moore constructed a narrative of anthropogenic global warming with the Earth's broader history of climate change, invent even more far-fetched problems that in the end don't really exist. The climate change issue is completely made-up issue. Of course the climate has been changing ever since Earth was born, and of course it's still changing now. It really hasn't changed that much. People don't even realize that 20,000 years ago there was a mile of ice on top of New York City and 3 miles of ice on top of Montreal. The climate from then until now is substantial, but a little bit of the temperature change that has occurred in the last couple of 100 years over the planet's Earth is nothing compared to the changes that have occurred over the past time. They're completely exaggerated and being used to scare people. Burning fossil fuels returns carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. One addition of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere is fertilizing all the plants' life on Earth, including the forests, all the food crops on Earth, and we have something like 30% average increase of the growth of planet over the last 50 years because of the CO2 we're putting in the atmosphere. CO2 is the primary food for life, along with water, H2O, and CO2. Planets make sugar, mainly glucose, which is a carbohydrate, which is the basis for all energy of life, beginning with photosynthesis. If people just understood the basic facts, the fact that CO2 is now lower than it's ever virtually in the history of Earth, because life has taken it out and deposited it in sediments called fossil fuel, of carbon rocks of limestone and marble and chalk, all of which contain carbon that use in the atmosphere or dissolve in ocean, where they absorb the life creatures to make themselves. Over the time, creatures have fallen to the bottom of the ocean, where they die or been buried in sediment on the land of fossil fuel, and they now have removed that carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and the oceans. So we come along after 4 billion years, and it starts burning some of that fossil fuel, and finally start putting some of the carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere where it came from in the first place. So he's saying that basically putting the CO2 into the atmosphere is a cycle. You put the CO2 into the atmosphere. The plants take it, they use it to create photosynthesis, and then they replace it with oxygen, and it's a cycle. Who would have thought?
Amazing. You think of it like humans as another creature on the planet, like bees and everything, right? Bees pollinate. Humans put the carbon back into the atmosphere to continue the cycle. It's almost like humans are just another a cog in the machine that the planet has fostered to be like a worker bee. Well, what we're doing is just another worker bee. Our nests are our houses, and it's just funny how that all. It's interesting. I was like, I'm laughing at the whole concept. I like it.
Yeah, I don't get this. Is how this this makes complete sense the way he's putting it, right? Like, am I not the only one that's saying that this makes sense?
But he's not the first to say it. No. He might be the first to say it very eloquently. I like how he says it. Yeah. The scientists have been pointing out that more CO2 it will green the planet more, and it's a good thing. So he's just really eloquently putting it. But scientists have been screaming at the top of their lungs for years, and they just get censored and shut down.
I don't get. Well, obviously we know why the mainstream media is not covering this. It's against their narrative for a start. So that's why they tend to not talk about it. But the interesting thing that I've found about this is that Google has deleted Dr. Patrick Moore from Greenpeace founders list following President Trump's praise. Greenpeace founder Dr. Patrick Moore, and by the way, he's actually a doctor, so he's not like this making this shit up sort of stuff, has made headlines in the past month ripping lunatic Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, whatever her name is, and the new Green Deal proposal to end civilization as we know it. AOC announced plans in February that would kill off half the US population and destroy the economy in less than 10 years. Following leftist praise, the insanity from the fresh Democrat, Dr. Moore called out the nutcase. Now, Dr. Moore also appeared on Fox News, and even President Trump praised his common sense. This was too much for Google and Greenpeace. The far-left tech giant deleted Dr. Moore from the Greenpeace list of founders today. Dr. Moore tweeted out this on Saturday, which I actually saw because I believe I'm following him, or because maybe Paul Jessup Watson tweeted it out. So what you have here is you have the two lists here, right? This is the Greenpeace founder list from early this week. You have Dr. Patrick Moore, Robert Hunter, Eve Stowe, Dr. McTaggart, Dorothy Stowe, and Bill Demain, or wherever you pronounce his name. Now, if you go to the list, it just has Robert Hunter, Eve Stowe, David McTaggart, Dorothy Stowe. It has Paul Cartridge, some other name. Jim Burton, is it Buston or Bitchin or something? The name's really hard to read because it's a small image. Hang on, let me see if I can zoom in on it. Jim Bowen, Marie Bowen, Ben Metcalf, and Bill Demain. So Bill Demain, where his name is still there. Dorothy Stowe is still there. David McTaggart is still there. Even Irving Stowe is still there. Robert Hunter is still there. Patrick Moore is missing. And also they've added this Paul Coit, Jim Boland, and Maria Boland. So what? The Greenpeace founders suddenly changed a couple of days ago? They got a time machine?
Yeah, that seems odd. Yeah, it seems very odd. It's because Patrick Moore is calling out the bullshit. That's all it is. They're not happy with him.
No.
But it's about time. I mean, it really is about time. Maybe Patrick has been sort of mulling this over for years, whether or not to do this. But I think with Little Miss Maoist doing what she's doing now, that's Ocasio, by the way, I'd say that he probably thinks it's about time to just go, all right, enough is enough. You know? And another thing too is that for a few years, one of the founders of the Weather Channel has been doing pretty much the same thing that Patrick is doing now.
Yeah.
Calling out the bullshit around the climate science.
Yeah. And then this one, I think at the end of the day, look, he might have bitten his tongue for a while because it's like, ugh, I don't really want to get involved and everything like that. But I think he's just been triggered by her going on like, but we've got 12 years to live and we're all going to die. And he's just like, look, this is just enough's enough, like you're saying. It's just, I've had a gutful of this.
Yeah.
He's just like, no, look, enough. Fed up with this. I'm going to set the record straight. And like I say, this is actually a guy who's a doctor. He's not, you know, just like some volunteer. He's one of the co-founders of Greenpeace. This guy knows his shit. And I'm actually going to find out what he's a doctor of, just to question the arguments that people may have. But what I was going to say was, but at the end of the day, it's like, you know, like, yeah, like, yeah. It's just, yeah, but anyway. He is... he's done thesis of Administration of Population Control in British Columbia, a focus on mining industry. He's doctoral advisor. I can't seem to find out what he studied though, what he's a doctor of. Raised in Harbour on Vancouver Island, third generation of Colombian family. President of Long Life Congress. He was made educated at the School of Vancouver and then attended University of British Columbia. So it's not like it's some backwater university that I know of. I heard University of British Columbia has somewhat of a decent reputation. He obtained a BSc in Forest Biology in 1969. He has a PhD in Forestry under the direction of Kemrish Hemmings. So he's literally a doctor of forestry. I think this guy would know his shit, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
You know, he might have actually studied forestry at school. Wait, he actually did. Which is what he's talking about. You
know, obviously, when you go into something like this, there's obviously a lot of nuance.
Yeah.
And I don't think that anyone, and hopefully no one's thinking that we're trying to say that it's okay to mine all the carbon in the world and just burn it, you know, without any idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, yeah. There's a time and a place. There's a certain amount that you do, and obviously solar panels have a place.
Yeah,
everything has a place. And another thing, Patrick Moore is pro uranium using nuclear fuel. He's pro that. I would also hazard a guess that he's pro disposing of the waste properly, not just putting it in rusty barrels and burying it into water tables. You know, like, yeah. I think, yeah, because I bet you that they're going to smear this guy. They're going to drag him. They're going to take things out of context and they're going to drag this guy. You wait.
Yeah, like look, I've said many a times, I have solar panels on my roof, and at the end of the day, there is a use for solar geothermal heat to turn fan turbines and stuff like that. There is a way that you can do this to subsidize the amount of coal that you need to place. Also, and this is something that you, me, and your old Discord have actually talked about in the past, there is new technology now with clean coal. And I know that sounds like a misplaced, but no, the stuff that comes out of the stacks from the coal power place is actually nothing more than steam. It's like what you get when you run a hot shower. What they do is they extract the nutrients and the carbon and all the shit from the output, and my understanding is they reburn it, and then they get the end waste product, they barrel it, and they store it. And what comes out into the environment is nothing more than steam. Now, this is something I was going to say. hang on,
Oh,
let
sorry.
me finish. What I was going to say was this is something that you, me, and your old Discord actually had a huge debate about, and everybody thought I was a crackpot about it. Well, most everybody. But, you know, we ended up researching into it, and no, I might have had some of the facts wrong, but the general basis of what I was saying was actually correct. You know, the output from these coal powers, this is when Trump turns around and says clean coal. Everybody's like, oh, you're full of shit. No, he's actually, that's what he means. He's meaning the output of these stacks is nothing more than steam. What are you going to say, sir?
Europe already has clean coal power plants literally running for years.
Yeah.
It's like you can't say that clean coal doesn't exist when you can just go, well, actually, they've been doing it in Europe for like a decade.
Yeah.
And they've been actually perfecting them as well. Some of their plants are the newer ones are even better than the older ones in clean coal.
Yeah.
And that, yes, so they can reburn some of the capture and run it through again.
Yeah.
Similar to how catalytic converters work in cars, which we've been doing for 2 decades or so. And then the sludge, the stuff that then they have no use for. It's actually not true they have no use for it. You can actually do some research and find that there are certain materials in the sludge that you can actually get and you can use for other things, other oil industries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of it is true waste. There's always an actual true waste in things, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
But then when you extract everything that can be reused, that true waste is pretty much dirt. Just dirt. Dirt is not bad for the environment. It's made of dirt. So,
yeah.
You know.
And the reason I know about this is because my parents actually bumped into someone who was actually involved in retrofitting the Australian power plants. Now,
wow.
I've tried to get him to talk to me, but this person's afraid of the backlash, and he won't. So it is something that I am going to be doing a video on. So, okay, I'm going to be making so much more work for myself. What I'd like to do, guys, is obviously we do the show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, American times. Over the weekend is normally me game time playing and stuff like that. But what I'd like to be doing is uploading a video on, say, Sunday night, American time, where basically it's going to be a deep dive on just one topic. And it's going to be like a 20-minute video or a 15-minute video. Well, depending on, obviously, the length of the content, but talking about one specific thing. So, you know, like, for example, this week I was going to do a video on not all, I think I was going to title it, Not All Hate Crimes Are Created Equal. And it was going to be the difference between the New Zealand mass shooting and the way the media carried that, as to the way the media carried on about the Christians being massacred in Nigeria. So yeah, and that was going to be something that I was going to work on the weekend, so I'll keep myself busy and play games and do a bit of a video and stuff like that. So hopefully you guys will enjoy that. But yeah, what I want to do is sort of over the weekends, American time, I want to be making a video that's going to be like a deep dive on just one specific topic. So yeah, this is something that I want to look into and possibly interview people on, and talk to people about. But yeah, that's something that I was planning on doing, but yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, what are your thoughts about them removing him? Do you reckon they just remove him because he's just speaking out against AOC, or because he's breaking this whole climate change, or?
Yeah, that's it. He's gone down the road of reality, and
well, they don't like reality, do they? So
no, reality is to be mistrusted. That's probably a good way for the left to basically what the left is doing. You know, and I suppose they might see him as a big threat, because it's like, you know, his credentials as a founder of Greenpeace needs to go away, because then people are going to think that that's actually Greenpeace, and they don't want that. Greenpeace has to stay the crazy fool that it's meant to be.
And look, it's sad that that's the case. Like, at the end of the day,
Absolutely.
look, obviously Greenpeace has a place in this world. Obviously they want to go through and they want to, for example, go through and make humans and the environment live together in a sort of symbiotic relationship. Like, I'm not saying we need to get rid of Greenpeace, but at the end of the day, it's like, stay in your lane. Don't be a charity that runs fear campaign just because you want to make some extra money.
I actually disagree. I would say that Greenpeace and the Green Party, like the Greens Party or anything like it, they actually do just need to go away.
Well,
they
no.
don't serve any purpose at this point. They're just fear mongers.
No, I'd like to keep them around, but just get back to your core belief. Get back to your actual core belief of what the party or the group was initially supposed to start off as. Don't get overrun by the leftists. But I don't know.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
If you're making a sandwich, and then I just come along and grab a spoon of Vegemite and throw it onto the sandwich, are you just going to scrape the Vegemite off of there, or are you going to throw out the whole sandwich and start again?
So what do you reckon? Make a new organisation?
Basically, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think Greenpeace just has to go. They need to start again.
Okay, so you're talking more about the company. I'm talking about the actual idea of Greenpeace itself staying. So we're talking, yeah. I'm saying that there's a place for these sort of green companies or this green foundations to as long as they're reasonable, and as long as they're not running on a fear campaign. There's a reason why these companies needed to be around, because obviously we don't want to go polluting the complete environment. We do obviously want people.
I agree.
Yeah.
We do need environmental protection agencies. I understand, like EPA. Whatever. It's funny. I didn't mean to actually say EPA. Yeah, but the concept of an environmental protection thing is true. We do need that. So yeah, but like in the current state of Greenpeace is that you'd have to just turn it off, remove all of these scumbag lefties, and just restaff it with people who are educated, who are not out for greed and money, people who are not activists, people who actually just go, look, here's the raw science, and keep it real,
Anyway, we should probably keep on the next topic. Want to jump on the next one?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. All right. So Bernie Sanders calls for New Zealand-style gun ban in the US. Oh, they just keep going, don't they? Sorry.
Facepalm.
Yeah. They just keep following that doctrine like it's gospel. So Socialist President hopeful Bernie Sanders reacted to the New Zealand gun ban by calling for similar ban in the USA. The New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinta Ardern announced a ban on military-style semi-automatic rifles, assault rifles, high-capacity magazines, and certain gun parts. The Christchurch attacker had 5 guns in his possession at the time of his attack. Two of the 5 were semi-automatic. Sanders tweeted in response to New Zealand's gun ban. So Sanders tweet continues the pilgrimage of the myth of banning a certain type of firearm will make it safer. However, Department of Justice reports makes 2 things clear. First, in the 1994 to 2004 assault weapons ban did not reduce crime. Second, assault weapons are not the gun of choice for criminals. Breitbart News reports that Democrat Justice National Institute of Justice NIJ. 2004 study showing the 1994 to 2004 assault weapons ban could not be credited with any reduction in crime. NIJ noted that one of the reasons the ban was ineffectual was because the assault weapons were not actually a weapon of choice for criminals when the ban took effect. What are your thoughts?
It's as if the American politicians are doing exactly what somebody is expecting them to do. Yeah, someone said that they did this thing to do exactly this, and they're all following it like they're following it to the T. It's creepy. Yeah.
Sorry, I got someone trying to blow up my DMs and trying to Anyway.
Oh, that's no good. Yeah. No, they shouldn't be doing this because it's just going to inflame more tensions in America. The guns are not the problem. Neither are the assault rifles, to be honest. And the other thing is, I mean, like, it's true, people don't pick up an assault rifle to go and do, general crime. To be honest, they're mostly used in hunting, various other things, I believe. I don't understand what the go is. No, these politicians are just going to keep along this road. They follow people's books. There's a lot of books. There's one in like 1984. They use it like a manual. They take people's manifestos and enact the thing that they want, which is just the opposite of what they should be doing. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
I think at the end of the day, banning firearms doesn't do shit.
It starts a civil war. I know that one.
Well, there's that much, yeah. But it doesn't stop gun violence. We banned guns, most guns in Australia, and we still have gun violences. I've seen a meme online. I've seen a meme on Twitter where people say, if only we banned rape, people wouldn't get raped. It's a really good point. Or the other one is, if we ban murder, people won't get murdered. And it's like, you're right. We do ban murder, and people are still getting murdered. It's like, yeah. It's like, But yeah, at the end of the day, I think at the end of the day, what banning guns does do, it stops your population from rising up. If there's a authoritarian government, and we're going to get into how far New Zealand is going right now, because I tell you what, the way New Zealand and Australia is going, it is very scary.
Yeah, the difference here is, in America, the gun owners will not go quietly into the sunset. They will not hand over their guns. That's the thing. What will transpire is you will probably literally see CNN helicopters above, televising like maybe 10 or 15 SWAT teams and an all-out war with an entire town. Like, it's going to look like a military force attacking a city, because that is, and I bet you that's what we're going to see. Mark my words. There's going to be like 200 rednecks on a farm on an all-out shootout with SWAT teams.
Yeah, I'd like to see how the government is planning on going through and actually doing some of this stuff with like some of these southern towns and stuff like that. Like, you're going to go in and try and take some of these firearms? Good luck. I want to see that. That. But yeah.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, I probably assume that eventually maybe the towns lose because, from one point the SWAT team loses, the military comes in. Yeah, they got tanks and drones and that. But I mean, are people really going to just sit there and let their government basically wipe out entire town populations because they didn't want to have the hand over guns. I mean, no, I don't think
Well,
so.
the left would.
You're gonna have. Yeah, but it's like half the country, dude. Half the country hating on the other half the country. This is what they want. They want to they want to start this. They want to kick it off, man.
Yeah.
You know?
But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. TL saying it'll happen in West Virginia or Connecticut or Kentucky. Sorry. Yeah. Or Texas. I'd like to see him try and go into Texas and try and take some of those firearms. Holy shit.
Alabama's another good one.
Yeah.
Alabama won't do it.
Yeah. It's like, holy shit. It's gonna be yeah. Yeah. But anyway,
another thing too is the NRA. The NRA, they don't lobby anywhere as much as the left tries to make it look like. The actual facts around the NRA is that they're actually pretty peaceful. They don't really push much things. However, they are very well organized, extremely well organized, and they have a lot of police backers, things like that. So. Yeah, it's anyway. Moving on, I guess.
Yeah. To continue the authoritarian state, and this is why I believe New Zealand is getting rid of their guns, or the Prime Minister is trying to get rid of their guns. Jacinta PM, Jacinta Ardern, New Zealand PM Jacinta Ardern shows America how gun reform is done, according to news.com.au. Right. In 1 week after just one massacre, Jacinta Ardern has radically reformed New Zealand, like it was already pre-planned. America, it shouldn't be this hard, she quotes, right? But here's the thing. After multiple reports about New Zealand turning in guns, guess how many actually did? What would be your guess? How many people do you reckon actually turned in their guns?
My guess is very few.
So there's 1.2 million registered firearms. Just take a guess. Rough ballpark figure. How many do you think have turned them in?
Well, my best guess can help. I can get a better guess. Does New Zealand have a proper national gun register?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting, because if there's an actual register, then people turning in their guns, I mean, if it's a legal requirement, then if they don't turn them in,
I'm pretty sure they do.
Police will arrest you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do, because she said that there's a grace period, and after no TL, it's a little higher than 3. Don't be a troll, but it's not much higher. It's not much higher, but. Alright, so I'm going to put you all out of your misery. The total was 37. 1.2 million rifles, registered guns. They've got 37. But to quote,
the gun owners are nicely red pilled. They're not going to hand over their guns.
But to quote news.com.au, New Zealand PM Jacinta Ardern shows America how gun reform is done. But only 37.
It shows America what gun reform will look like in America.
1.2 million registered guns. They got 37. And this is what the media is trying to blow up. Oh, look at all these people handing in their guns. Oh, this is a success. Look, this is great. How many did you get? 37. Out of how many? 1.2 million. Oh, okay, and that's a success. Well, we got 37 of them. And it's like, interesting. You didn't seem to get a lot.
It's too late. That's the problem. When Australia did it, people were much dumber back then. You know, Germany did the same thing. They brought in the gun register program, And
Yep.
then not long after that, they went and then said, okay, now you're going to have to hand the guns in. Now that they've got you registered, then they know who you are and they can go after you.
And
But
I do.
It looks like people in New Zealand,
Yeah.
they're not going to do it.
And I
Register
do
or
want,
not.
and I do want to say for the record that there was this big hula about all these New Zealanders hanging in their firearms. No, there was 37 firearms, and this is not some right wing article that's saying that 37. It's not like downplaying the numbers or trying to fudge figures. This 37 number is actually coming from BuzzFeed, which is a far left progressive. Like, this is them saying 37. Yeah, 37 guns. Yeah. Like, if anything, they're going to inflate the numbers rather than deflate them, right? Because they want to push the narrative. So even BuzzFeed is 37. This is not a success. This is an ultimate failure on your point, because there's only 37 out of 1.2 million. If someone says to me, I'm going to give you $1.2 million, but don't worry, I'm only going to give you actually 37, I'm going to be a little disappointed with that. Right? Yeah, like... But the media is just trying to make this like it's some huge big victory. Like, you know, like, look at all these people handing in their guns. No, there's fucking 37 of them. But, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, it's exactly what, my thoughts are, I'm very glad. I'm very glad that that's the result. I am reveling in their failure. I said to you the other day, I really needed some good news. I needed something good news to feel better. Thank you. This is what I needed to hear.
So, for the people that weren't in Discord, he was about to go and play in traffic. It was that black pill. So yeah, like the saying goes. But like I say, yeah, he was looking for good information, you know, good sources, because he was a little black pilled, and I was a little black pilled. And we were both black-pilled on a call, on a Discord thing, and yeah, we were sort of both a little defeatist at the time, but look, I'm not saying things are a lot better now. I'm still really black-pilled, and we're going to get into some shit right now that's probably going to make you go back to being black. But at the moment, I'm glad to...
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
I'm glad I made you a little red-pilled just for a moment. Happy just for a moment. And now let me take it away from you in about 5 or 10 minutes.
Well, the right term would be white pilling. It's the opposite of black pilling.
Well, that's true. But alright, so let's get into this shit, because there's a lot of shit that's going on with this multiculturalism over in America, over in New Zealand right now. So, alright, we're going to talk about Brexit. We're going to talk about that after. But let's talk about... Kiwis encouraged to wear headscarves to support Muslim communities. No! No, please don't! Oh, holy shit. So this is from the 19th of...
What the hell?
This is from the 19th of March. New Zealanders of all religions have been encouraged to wear a headscarf on Friday to show their support for the Muslim community, as the Headscarf Harmony movement will take place on Friday, March 22nd. I never even heard anything about this, and this was today. Okay, how's that movement going? How many people are wearing headscarves? It aims to support and acknowledge the pain of Muslim communities is suffering and the grief New Zealanders share amidst the tragedy. We want to show our love and support and grief for the loss of 50 mothers, fathers and children, colleagues and friends last Friday's terrorist attack in Christchurch, the group says. The idea came from Teresa Assam, a anti-Eden GP who has a long-standing affinity with Muslim communities since her time volunteering as a doctor in Afghanistan. You know, you say affinity, I say financial backers, but anyway. I heard the story of frightened women hiding at home, too scared to go out on the streets as she felt her headscarf identified her as a target of terrorism. I wanted to say, we are with you. We want you to feel home on your streets. We love, support, and respect you. Representatives of the Muslim community have encouraged the idea and are deeply touched. The leader of the Islamic Women's Council of New Zealand said the gesture of solidarity and support will be very much appreciated by our community. The president of the New Zealand Muslim Association, Kahani, I'm getting that name wrong, called it a wonderful idea. Thoughts on Western women wearing a hijab or a niqab or whatever it may be to support solidarity for a Muslim community?
I hope this isn't too much, but I would probably counter this with a an idea that maybe Muslim women wear nun suits, and Muslim men put on those little white collars, like priests. Yeah, could
I
we
know
have a
where
bit of that?
I know where you're going, and I had this similar thought, but my thought was a little different, right? So we've had 200 Christians being killed over in Nigeria, and we're going to get to that, don't worry. Maybe we should start going through and encouraging people to wear crosses.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's a lot simpler, actually.
Yeah, just everybody wear a cross around your neck on today.
In solidarity.
Yeah, in solidarity with the Christians that are being mass murdered, buried alive in mass graves, and the media won't talk about it. In case you're wondering what we're talking about, trying to find the article now. Media silence surrounds Muslim massacre of Christians. Political leaders and public figures were falling over themselves this weekend to condone the mosque attack in New Zealand, while dozens of Christians were slaughtered by Muslims in Nigeria to the sound of crickets. Well, actually, I think they were to the sounds of machetes and gunfire, but regardless. The mosque attack was indeed a horrific affair and worthy of universal condemnation. True. Presidents, prime ministers, royalty, and religious leaders rushed to extend their condolences to the victim and the families, as well as they should, while decrying the hate that purportedly motivated the shootings. Without an exception, mainstream media gave top billing to the shooting, with newspapers carrying the story on the front page and television channels leading off the broadcast with their story. The bizarre aspects of the coverage was not, in fact, the attention paid to the heinous crime committed in New Zealand, but the absolute silence surrounding the simultaneous massacre of scores of Christian by Muslim militants in Africa. As Breitbart News alone, which is not entirely true, we've also reported on it, but regardless, reported among major news outlets, okay, that's true, yeah, Fijini jihadis racked up a death toll of over 120 Christians. It's now over 200 because they're still going. Over the past 3 weeks in central Nigeria, employing machete and gunfire to slaughter women, men, and children, burning down over 140 houses, destroying property, and spreading terror. Boy, it might be like Christians in Nigeria are a bit afraid to leave their house at night, or during the day even.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of like what happened in New Zealand a little bit, but worse, doesn't it?
It does. And you know what else? It happens way more often.
True. True, it does.
Yeah.
New Zealand Times did not place this story on the front page. In fact, they did not cover it at all. apparently when asserting all the news that fit to print, the massacre of African Christians does not measure up. The same can be said for Washington Post, the Chicago Tribune, the Detroit Free Press, the LA Times, and even other major papers in the United States. The news shows from 3 major television channels did not mention the story, nor did CNN or MSNBC. Now, I've actually tried to get this story on national radio, and their response at the time was, we wanted to take a lighter, this was after the New Zealand massacre, we wanted to take a lighter note for the show for tonight. So they didn't want to talk about it either. Now, it's possible that I've called back in the next day or two. They might also go through and cover it. But their response was, from the person that I was speaking to, was that it happens in a third world country, so the media doesn't really give it the coverage. To which then I turned around and I said, well, that's not true, because Netherlands, there was a terrorist attack over there. A guy walked on a bus, shot some people, and no one cared. And she's like, true, you're right, it doesn't necessarily always happen equally. There seems to be a slant to the media by, and she had to admit that.
I actually saw Red Ice Friday. What they did is they actually did a bit of research around Ebbe Eikeland, which is the name on weapons.
Interesting, yeah.
And what they found was, at the time, there actually was not a terrorist attack. There was an attack on Muslims and some other people that had been hurt, and they covered that over in Sweden and all that sort of stuff. But what? Sorry, hang on.
No, that's fine. I can hear the car in the background.
What they did is they covered. My goodness, sorry about that. What they did is they covered. They didn't cover Ebbe Eikeland at all. And there was apparently one story in the entire country that covered her death. However, they covered a lot of deaths around at the time to do with some Muslim attack, but it was Muslims on Muslims or something like that. Yeah. So it's not the first time. It's not the first time, and it won't be the last. But what is nice to see is that people are actually talking about it, especially Breitbart. It's nice to see some big outlets pushing back on the narrative. Yeah,
and I wish I had the views that Breitbart and all that had, because then obviously we could have made a difference a lot sooner. But at the end of the day, look, at least someone's talking about it, right? Yeah.
That's the main thing, yeah. I like that Red Ice actually covered that. They also covered a few others too, to do with the bias in the reporting. So apparently it's actually rather common whenever there's some kind of crime against minorities. Apparently it gets a lot of coverage. For example, the shooter that went in and he killed and harmed a whole lot of Jewish folk in America, and apparently that was massively covered. Yet there was some more attacks over in Britain, and there wasn't much at all. No. And the other thing too is that when they talk about sex trafficking, they tend to cover a lot of sex trafficking around Africa, and to do with also in South America. But they don't really cover much of the sex trafficking that goes on in Europe. So I was horrified when I saw that the list of sex trafficking crimes that have been going on is actually almost 10 or 12 different European states have the problem.
Yeah. Sorry, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, if you look up, what's his name? They're going to put him in jail.
Sorry, who? Sorry, say that again.
You know the guy that they're going to put in jail again, or they're threatening to.
Julian Assange.
No. The guy over in Europe. They put him in prison for a few months when he was out in front of the court.
Oh, Tommy Robinson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So apparently, Tommy Robinson, what he was actually doing is one of the reasons that they're trying to shut him down so hard is because he's bringing a lot of attention to the sex trafficking going on around Europe.
Yeah.
And they don't want that because it will crush the narrative. People get very defensive about their young girls. It's a visceral reaction. You can't narrative your way out of harming little girls.
Well, I think at the end of the day, the fact is that also the fact that Tommy Robinson's been talking about this for 30 years, the media hasn't been talking about it, and they've actually been trying to discredit him. The government has been covering it up because they didn't want to talk about it. And I think after the end of the day, what Tommy Robinson has done is shine a very bright public spotlight on this corruption in the UK government. And the reason they want to shut him down is because at the end of the day, he's not only right, but he's showing how corrupt the system is. He is showing that there is a problem with pedophilia or child exploitation or whatever you may want to call it, and we've already been demonetized, so I'm not worried about saying certain words. But I was going to say, but there's certain situations with young children and certain religions. And look, it's not just Islam. Look, Christianity is in the middle of a scandal right now with certain, was it bishops or popes or whatever it was? Here's the thing. The mainstream media is running with that. They're covering the Christian thing like it's every time there's an update. Huge breaking news. But no one's talking about the Rothmans scandals. No one's talking about these children from Islam that have been affected, or these children that were affected by certain race or religions.
Yeah, but the scary thing is that Rotterdam is one of almost a dozen states around Europe that have a similar or larger scale problem than just Rotterdam. It's actually horrific.
Yeah, I've actually been following this because obviously Tommy Robinson, and at the end of the day, what Tommy Robinson is literally the tip of the iceberg. There is he obviously he's good at showing it every time it happens, but there is these court cases that are going on over in the UK, and it's happening in a lot of places. Rothman, whatever it's pronounced, it's only the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, there seems to be a bit of information coming out here in Australia now about a similar issue. I wouldn't say the scale is anywhere near as high.
No.
But there is some light coming to some of this going on in Australia now. So, am I surprised? No, I'm not surprised. Too much immigration leads to this sort of thing starting to, crop up.
Yeah. Ready for some more blackpilling? I haven't finished yet.
Yeah, let's do it.
Do it. Okay, so Pauline Hanson is in the news at the moment. Sharia banking in the budget of Australia. How you feeling there, buddy? You all right?
Confusion.
Okay.
What's Sharia banking?
Sure, we'll get to that. When you thought things couldn't get any more concerning with our two major parties, both Liberal and National Coalition and Labor pass Sharia banking in Australia in the budget papers before calling the election. In other words, interest-free loans. Talk about creating an us and them scenario, further disadvantaging the Australian business and everyday borrowers like you and I. So we do have the report. And by the way, the title of the report is really interesting. Solvent swing into state asset sales. No, TL, there's a few people watching. It's just, you're the only one topping. So cashed up Middle Eastern investors will be able to bid for the major road, rail and port projects after the Turnbull government quietly changed tax laws in the budget to accommodate Sharia law. The Australian Arab Chamber of Commerce and Industry bankers and tax experts say their changes may provide or prove one of the most significant moves in Australia in the last week's budget, with a host of state infrastructure assets up for grabs, including Victoria's $6 billion Port of Melbourne and New South Wales' remaining $10 billion electricity asset. Half of the world's top 10 sovereigns' wealth funds worth $2.4 trillion were created from oil wealth, 20 times the firepower of Australia's future fund, and countries like the United Kingdom have already moved to welcome a pool of funds estimated to reach $3.7 trillion by 2020. Islamic financing transactions are not treated as loans for tax purposes. In Australia, they are subject to CGT or trading stock rules and can incur GST or stamp duty. The budget changes would pass Sharia-compliant deals on the same tax footing as other global funds. What we've seen is a lot of interest from the Islamic investors who wanted to invest in Australia, but they had to borrow from Islamic bank offshores. This was an expensive and complex, said Associate Director of Islamic Capital Markets, National Australia Bank, Dr. Aram Lum. Interesting name, by the way. So, what am I getting from this? Is Australia is up for sale, and come into Australia, everything is for sale. You can buy our electricity, our Port of Melbourne. You can buy it all as long as you've got the right money. And in fact, we will even turn around and give you interest-free loans to comply with your Muslim faith while you buy our assets and buy us out. Yes, that's right, it's Australia. Everything is for fucking sale. That's what I get from this article.
Pauline Hanson was put in jail because she wanted to call out China for a similar thing. I mean, yeah. They were doing the same thing with interest because they don't care about interest.
Yep.
She called it out, and they whacked her in prison over it.
Yes.
It's a scandal.
Yes.
Then she comes back out and goes about the same thing, but instead of pointing her finger at China, because, well, that's over and done with, what are you going to do now? Do you change history? Don't have a time machine. But she was trying to say, look, it's going to get worse in this direction. And they didn't listen. They still don't listen to her.
No. Well, they don't want to listen. The politicians have been brought and paid for.
Yeah, they have.
Like,
Australia is not going to be Australia anymore. It's only going to be in name, but not for reals.
Well, they've already tried to depatronize people. They try and remove the patronage or patriotism from people. And to me, the easiest way to sell assets off is to make it so people do not care about their country. Don't care if the Port of Melbourne is owned by foreign investors. It's only one of our busiest ports. I'm sure there's going to be no consequences to the Port of Melbourne being owned by foreign investors. Shit, why don't we just sell it to the frigging drug cartels while we're at it?
Hey, if the drug cartel is Australian owned.
Yeah, I'd actually probably much prefer that. At least the money's going to stay in Australia. The money is going to go overseas. But even if they spend this money and they buy this, right? Sure, cash. Australia gets a cash injection. But what about all the money that it's going to make between now and then end of days? Where is that money going to go? And you're going to tell me that these Islamic investors are going to be happy having a whole bunch of white guys run around running their Port of Melbourne?
That's right.
I tell you,
your biggest problem too is it's kind of hard to regulate. It's kind of hard to regulate your border laws when the port isn't even owned by the country that it's operating in.
Yeah, like.
I mean, are there going to be dirty bombs and Scud missiles going through there next time?
Well, you know, at the end of the day, it does also bring up the question about whether Australia would still have jurisdiction over it.
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Are any politicians asking the question?
Of course not. They're getting paid. They're getting money. Who cares? It's all money. It's all woolah. Everything's for sale. Even our politicians.
Baby.
It's all about the Benjamins. Exactly. I should play that clip.
Yeah.
But don't worry, you know, because it's not like Iran or these Muslim countries have a history of being corrupt. Because Iranian lawyer who defended women's rights to remove hijab has been sentenced to 38 years in jail and 148 lashes. Or 148 lashes, I'm not quite sure. But let's just jump straight into it. After 2 trials describing Amnesty International as grossly unfair, I'm sorry that the Iranian government thinks that Amnesty International is grossly unfair when they're talking about women not having to wear a hijab. But anyway, human rights lawyer Nasrin, I'm getting that name wrong, I'm butchering it, but Satos, or whatever it may be, has been sentenced to a total of 38 years in prison and 148 lashes. Sator has dedicated her life to defending Iranian women, prosecuting for removing their hijabs in public, and has been the crosshairs of the Iran's theocratic government for the last years. In 2010, she was convicted of conspiring to harm the state security and served half of the 6-year sentence. Then in June last year, she was rearrested on a range of dubious charges, tried in secret. Details of her deal have often come via her husband, who wrote of her new, much harsher sentence on Facebook this Monday. She has been charged with 7 crimes and given the maximum sentence of all of them. 5 additional years were added for a 2006 case in which she was convicted in absentia. A total of 38 sentences was severe, even by Iranian standard. A country often accused of human rights abuses, particularly involving women, observers say it may signal a new hardline approach to political dissidents. Last year, a radical cleric linked to mass executions in 1980 was appointed head of Islamic Representatives Judiciary. So, you know, it's not like, you know, Muslim countries have a history of, you know, being grossly unfair. So she's going to be sentenced to a total of 38 years in prison and 148 lashes. They're going to lash a woman 148 times, while she also serves 38 years in prison. What the actual fuck?
Yeah, have you ever seen what a back looks like after a bunch of Iranian lashes?
I don't want to. But, like...
I don't think you do.
No.
It's grisly.
Yeah. Like, Jesus Christ, 148!
Yeah, some people actually die because of the infections.
Yeah, they do, yeah. Yeah.
And
like,
by the way, just, I'm not trying to be misogynist, but a woman's skin and muscle structure, it's actually softer.
Yeah.
So she may not make it. She may not make it past the weekend.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if she'll die from the lashes itself, but she could die from the infection. But even after that, she's then she's got 38 years in jail as well.
Yep.
Like,
it's disgusting.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Me Too brigade is going to talk about this one.
Don't
I'd love.
Don't
no,
be kidding.
not.
Don't be joking. No.
Yeah.
Like, do you really think? Like, this is from a Women in the World article, right? And I think this may be a slightly left-leaning publication. But I'll tell you now, you're feminist, you're Anita Sarkeesian and all these sort of women, they're not going to be fucking talking about this. But, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
it would be nice to see maybe if someone influential, I don't know, just maybe Tim Pool might even just cover it, just to give it attention so it can trend on Twitter, just to bring attention to this, because this is a horrible thing and this needs to stop.
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't envy her. I really don't. But, you know, and don't worry, it gets worse. New Zealand shooting, Parliament opens sessions with readings from the Quran.
Oh my God.
Prime Minister Jacinta Ardern has offered to pay the funeral costs for victims, which is obviously standard stock. Fine. The Quran was recited during New Zealand's Parliament session on Tuesday, the first since last week's terrorist attack on 2 mosques that claimed 50 lives. A Muslim imam led prayers in Parliament in what's been seen as a gesture of solidarity with the victims of the shooting. Where is the readings of Christian poems? Where is the Christian reading of the Bible in solidarity with them?
They better be careful. It's going to rain so much virtue, they're going to flood the country in virtue.
Yeah. Now, of course, the interesting thing I find about this article is I seriously doubt they've picked the pieces that are controversial, to say the least. I imagine they've gone through and made sure that these verses that they were saying were completely sanitized. We don't want any violence or anything in them, so they probably, picked the right ones. Maybe even changed the words, who knows. But anyway. Silent assassin about to strike. Why Michael Grove is tipped to replace... Oh, okay, that's a different thing, sorry. Muslims call to prayer will be broadcast across New Zealand. Prime Minister Jacinta Ardern orders. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinta Ardern has said the country will pause for 2 minutes of silence on Friday, followed by the Muslim call to prayers, which are being broadcast across the nation. Ardern told reporters on Wednesday there is a desire among the New Zealanders to mark the week that has passed since the terrorist attack, to acknowledge that there will be 2 minutes of silence on Fridays. We will also broadcast nationally via TV New Zealand and Radio New Zealand the call to prayer, she says.
Hey, Jacinta, where's your hijab?
She's got one on. No, she's got one on.
Oh, she does?
Yeah.
Oh my God, she actually did that.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, she went the full. Like I don't know. All I'm picturing right now, and I know I shouldn't say this, but all I'm picturing now is Jacinta on her knees to a Muslim guy. That's all that runs through my head. Is just her, just completely cucking to Islam.
I'm literally squirming in my chair right now.
Yeah, I told you this is going to be fairly backpedaling.
Oh my God. Yeah, I don't like any of this. I can go away. New Zealand, you're going.
Please, Islam.
Just put some thrusters on it and just send it away.
Please, Islam, please make me your little bitch. Is what I'm thinking right now. I want to be your bitch. I want to be your little bitch. Please, Islam. Is all I'm thinking from this whole cucking. You're supposed to be a fucking leader of a country. Get off your knees and stand on your feet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, holy shit. I've never seen so much virtual signaling in my whole life. Can we check to see if her backers aren't Israel or sorry, isn't Saudi Arabia? Like, because at the moment, this is... And I know there's a conspiracy theory right now going around about this mass shooter being Australian-trained military and everything like that. I've heard the rumours. I want to see proof. But at the moment, this whole situation, they have literally... It was really convenient about this shooting. Because I tell you what, it's shown Jacinta to be the little Islamic bitch that she is. Like, oh. And our Prime Minister's not any different. Scott Morrison is carrying on like a little cuck as well. Like, holy shit. Where are the men with fucking balls in this place? Do I have to run for Prime Minister? Rewarded. Sorry?
Weakness is not rewarded.
Like, do we need someone that's got some... Pauline Hanson has more balls than these people right now. Like...
I'd say her silence is not good.
Who, Pauline?
Yeah, I mean, has she said anything?
Yeah, she has, yeah.
Anything powerful, or just sort of toe the line?
She was questioned about that guy that got egged, Fraser Anning, that got egged. She was questioned about that, and she sidestepped it a little bit. But look, at the end of the day, I know she doesn't want to come off as anti-Islamic. Obviously, look, at the end of the day, you want to... She's a complete fool. You're talking about Jacinta, I presume. But look, at the end of the day, yeah, Pauline doesn't want to come across as hurtful, I suppose.
Well, yeah. I mean, Fraser had quite a set on him. Brass knuckleballs, man. When he put that out, saying it's kind of their fault for...
Well, he didn't say that. That's the thing. He didn't actually say that. All he turned around and basically said was... There is a link between mass immigration and terrorist attacks.
Yes.
He didn't say on either side. He didn't say it was Islamic or white or anything like that. What he's basically saying is that two cultures mixing does not frigging work. Now, could he have said it better?
Yeah.
Sure, he could have. But at the end of the day, all he was simply saying was that if you increase your migration, you get more terrorist attacks. Which, to be honest, is true.
And when you get more terrorist attacks, it's only inevitable that someone is on the other side is going to lash back.
Exactly.
Or clap back, however you want to call it.
Oops. Yeah, like, you and I have been talking about this for a while, like, before it happened, and I turned around and we both agreed, I'm pretty sure, anyway, that we both said that this terrorist attack will happen. It's going to happen sooner or later because people are getting dispositioned. You have white males who are told by media that they're evil, that they're scum, that they're bottom of the earth, the bottom of the barrel, and then you have turn around and then you have them being replaced by the same thing that they supposedly are, that people that are misogynist and everything like that, and people are like, hang on, this is not my country anymore. What the fuck is going on? And there is going to be a portion of the population that has a problem with it. And then there's going to be a portion of the population, a smaller portion, that will take desperate measures to preserve their country, whether you agree with it or not.
Pretty much.
Yeah. But this is cucking. This is Jacinta cucking to Islam. Bending over and taking one for the team, so to speak. Whatever phrase you want to use. And I'm probably never going to be allowed in New Zealand ever again. But regardless, the way it's going, I don't want to go to New Zealand. Well, I want to go there for skiing, but regardless. But like I say, at the end of the day, this is... Yeah, like... What the actual fuck? And in Australia, we got Sharia banking coming in. After they turned around and said there's not going to be any Sharia law, meanwhile, hold my beer, let us introduce Sharia banking. Like...
There's not going to be anywhere to go to get away from this kind of shit.
So, islandsforsale.com...
Doing this again.
Yeah, look, I know it's a bit of a meme at the moment, but seriously, is that our only option? What do we have to do? Move to Poland?
Mars is actually quite nice this time of year.
Mars? Just bring your own O2 tank? Yeah. Well, you and I have enough experience playing space simulators, we might be able to survive.
I think so.
Yeah.
All you need is a welding tool and a drill.
Now, you need your welding tool, your drill, your oxygen canister, your drill bits, you know. Just don't go building your base too big because it might crash your frame rate.
Yeah, that's it.
I haven't been in Halion since. I was going to say I haven't been in Halion since. Yeah, I think it's a waste of time jumping back in because it's probably going to kill my computer again.
I just always found it hilarious, this meme in games where, I wish I had a welding tool like that. Your car's on fire, smoking, the tires are flat and everything. You just walk up to it with this tool and you just stick it in there and it just goes, oh, it's all fixed. It's like, damn, I wish I had one of those in real life.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I might play Halion, but I might make smaller bases and more smaller bases across the galaxy.
Yeah, to be honest, you actually do really only need a smaller base. Apparently, the biggest base that the actual developers have is the SDS outpost. And honestly, that's actually just a command center. And then you just have, all you need is 3 modules. You have your life support module, you have your refinery, and your fabricator. That's all you need. So that's 4 things. And 1 available port for an airlock. If you think about it, the command center has 4 outlets. You just have 1, 2, 3, and an airlock. That's all you need.
So making a base that has like 20 modules was probably a little bit ambitious.
Yeah, and almost all of these sandbox type games actually allow it that you can break the game. That's why
I proved
a couple
that
of games have block limits. You know.
Yeah. Anyway, we should probably get back on topic.
Yeah, sorry. This is not a gaming stream.
Anyway, Texas man brings steer to Petco to test all leashed pets are welcome policy. So we're going to get into some funny news, because I think you need some funny news right now, because otherwise you're going to be playing in traffic. Don't have a cow, man, unless it's at Petco. A man and woman from Texas couldn't help but laugh as they recently walked into their leashed steer into Houston area Petco, a really see if all leashed pets are welcome at the store. To Shelley Limpkins and Vincent Bowing's surprise, the African Wisheri was welcomed with open arms. Bowing wrote on his Facebook page on Monday that the staff members here are always super friendly and courteous to us. We really enjoy coming to this location, our favourite Petco by far. The post has since earned more than 400,000 views. Kind of a good little story.
That's nice.
Yeah. Alright. Let's get on to some... Alright, so this will be the last segment of stories to cover for the day. But let's jump into it. Cancel Brexit petition passes 1 million signatures on Parliament's site. So, invoke Article 50 and remain in the EU. A petition calling for Theresa May to cancel Brexit by revoking Article 50 has passed 1 million signatures. Parliament's Permission Committee tweeted that the rate of signatures was the highest since it had ever to deal with. The website crashed. The Prime Minister is in Brussels to ask the EU for a delay next Friday for Brexit date. Downing Street, I was going to say Drowning Street. Downing Street said the Prime Minister has said many times she will not conference revoking Article 50. But here's the thing, right? Okay, so they're going on about 1 million votes. How many people voted to leave the EU? Do you remember?
I think it was 52%, or 51, or 52.
Something like that, yeah. So it was over 17 million people to say yes.
Yeah.
So 1 million want to stay, at the moment anyway. But let me know when it hits 17 million. Let me know about that. When it gets to 17 million to say leave the EU, let me know about that. Because then we can talk about numbers. This 1 million is literally 1/17 of what it needs to be to even have a discussion about it. So,
well, actually, I think they have to discuss it, but then all they can say is, well, we can't really do anything about it. That's the vote has been cast already.
No, don't be silly. Don't you know the left just likes to keep re-voting on things until they get their way?
Oh yeah, that's actually their MO.
Yeah, it didn't work the first time, so we just keep trying again. It wasn't communism the first time. All right, it wasn't true communism. It wasn't true Brexit the first time. All right, we need to re-vote. We need to re-bring in... Notice the similarities in the argument. Silent Assassin is about to strike. Why Michael Gove is tipped to replace Theresa May. He was famously banished by the backbench and told to learn about loyalty by Theresa May. But now Michael Gove could prove to be the Prime Minister's silent assassin, according to Tory sources. Following a stellar Commons speech in which he viciously Jeremy Corbyn, a different kind of momentum is gathering behind the Environment Secretary as a potential unity candidate to succeed Theresa May. According to one Conservative MP, the prominent Brexiteer has overtaken Home Security Sadie Jevis as the favourite among the party's new intake as leadership contenders this week jostle for a position following Miss May's controversial request to extend Article 50. Michael is the name on a lot of lists. It's called Failing Upwards, right? That's what it's called. Hugh Grant, it looks like every sane person wants the British government to cancel Brexit. Really, Hugh Grant? Because it's only 1 million signatures. But anyway. But every sane person, right? So all the other 17 million are insane, probably. But anyway, British actor Hugh Grant has demanded that the British government call their decision to leave the European Union, saying only sane people support remaining as the prospect of the country leaving the EU bloc without a formal withdrawal agreement continues to rise. The 4 weddings and a funeral star, in other words, another, elitist actor who lives in an ivory tower, is going to tell you how to live, supposedly. Shared a petition via Twitter calling on the British government to revoke Article 50, the legal process at which a member state exits the bloc, to remain a member and thus ignoring the 2016 referendum when the majority of people would vote to leave. So that's how it got 1 million votes so fast. Hugh Grant's friggin' shared it.
It's like these people want to ignore democratic voting and just go with the communist way of doing things, which is, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, of course, because at the end of the day, what the general population want is not what they want. You tell me, people like Hugh Grant, right? What is the benefit that he gets in staying in the EU?
I'm not sure.
No.
He doesn't own any factories or anything, so
No.
I don't get it.
So the only benefit to him is an agenda.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. So
Toe the line so that he keeps getting work.
Yeah. And that's what I think it is. I think these celebrities and all that, no. Like, for example, Taylor Swift came out and jumped in on the 2018 midterm elections, right? After claiming that she was apolitical for so long. But the interesting thing was, after she did that, her new album came out.
Yeah.
It's like
Such a coincidence.
Yeah. And then Eminem came out and shit on Trump. And then his new album came out after that. It's like there is and Kanye West, for example, did a backflip on the whole, not a backflip, but stepped away from the mega movement. And then literally a couple of weeks or a couple months after that, his new album dropped. And then he jumped back on the Trump train after that. It's like there's someone telling them that they have to do it to get a record deal.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't think like that.
Way,
because that would be a
it's the
conspiracy
way
theory.
Hollywood works.
Yeah. Toe the line and get the job.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I don't know. I used to remember the days when actors used to just act and they never were political. Whatever happened to those days?
The same thing that happened to the gaming industry.
True.
Everything has to be politicized now.
Everything is racist, everything is sexist, everything is misogynist, and you just have to call it out.
That's it.
Mind you, they're not going to go calling out Islam that is, like we said before, going to whip a female 148 times and give 38 years in prison. So what Anita Sarkeesian actually meant was everything is racist, everything is misogynist, everything is sexist, but only call out what suits our agenda, is what she actually meant. That's the way I take her UN speech. Only call out the stuff that's for our agenda. If it goes against our agenda, don't call it out. But I don't know. Anything you want to add? Anything you got? Any stories? Anything you've got to say?
Not today, no. I haven't got anything today.
No, that's all right. We'll go through the comments and wrap it up if you want.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, we've been going for an hour and almost 2 hours. So, whatever happened to us doing an hour-long stream?
There's too much news. That's what's wrong.
Yeah, that's true. That's why we started doing these streams, because there was too much news. But anyway, Greg, Greenpeace moved him from the list of founders of the website. Yes, covered that, and yes, they actually did. Obviously, for anybody that's new, that's just jumped in, that missed the first start of this, obviously we're talking about Greenpeace here. The Greenpeace founder has come out and claimed that climate change crisis is completely made up issue, and subsequently Google has removed him from their lists. Interesting, isn't it? But anyway, yay, it's nonpartisan. Hello TL, how are you, buddy? Greenpeace sounds like Agenda 21, 2030-ish. Greenpeace are assholes. They ruined a NASCAR line site. I don't know about that, TL. If you're still in chat, let me know about that, man. TL, I've been saying that for years. Plants need CO2 to live, so why was it a bad thing? Because it's against the anti-human agenda, maybe? Just saying.
Yeah, the environment is part of human. So if you go anti-human, I guess you have to go anti-environment.
Well, they always consider them different, but anyway. Trip says changing platforms. TL, my bad guys, I'm back. Heck, we won't die fighting them. I don't know who he's talking about when he says we won't die fighting them. But anyway, it'll happen in West Virginia. Oh, for the guns thing, I think he's talking about. It'll happen in West Virginia or Connecticut. TL said there was 3 guns that were brought in. That's when I said he was close. Yeah, they made the wear crosses in solidarity. Amen, man. I agree with you. It's a really good idea I had. We should do that. TL, well, that doesn't inspire me throughout. Sorry. Wow, that doesn't inspire. Sorry. Start again. Wow, that doesn't surprise me through in Sweden. They're protecting the migrants over their own. Yes, well, like, you know, the meme says at the front, at the intro, if the local population won't fuck the women, then we'll bring in a whole bunch of migrants. Tiny Robinson is a hero. Am I the only one here? No, there was actually 5 people or so watching at that point in time. Well, I'm sorry to hear, Aussie friends. We have Sharia patrols in New York City. Their cars are painted just like NYPD. We've actually covered that, TL. So their argument is it's not Sharia patrols, but they're going to go around to the Muslim areas and deal with the Muslim community reporting crimes. But it's not Muslim Sharia patrols, right? Just confirm that. Apparently. I don't know what the difference is, but yeah. Maybe
it's just community watch.
Yeah. With cars and stuff. She's a complete fool. Yeah, presuming we're talking about Jacinta, I would totally agree. The thing is, though, man, a lot of women love her. I had a friend here in Australia. She's from New Zealand, and she was completely on the Jacinta train. And I've told her a few things, and she's like, now, like, this girl is nuts. So I managed to switch one of the voters, but only so many more million to go. And obviously, guys, if take the opportunity, smack that like if you're new here. Click that subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell. And obviously, guys, spreading the message or spreading the videos around will obviously help red pill people, hopefully. And, you know, look, we try and remain as non-partisan as we can. Raymond, yes, she is a PKM. She's giving the crazies what they want. She's damaging freedoms there in New Zealand. Yeah, not just there. She's also trying to affect it over here as well. You're right. Poland has nice people. It does. I'm thinking I might want to start to learn Polish. Just in case. Raymond, what was the worst... she's worse than a Banana Republic dictatorship. That's Theresa May, I think he's talking about there. They to leave the EU, get out of that horrible organisation. Yeah. Interesting enough, I actually have a contact I'm talking to who used to be a part of the EU. The UN, sorry. The UN. Interesting guy.
Nice.
Interesting guy that I've been talking to lately. Yeah, he's told me a few things. I want to catch up with him soon again and see if there's anything in particular it suggests I look into. Because yeah, very interesting guy. Not a fan of the of the UN right now. I believe he turned around and said it's cancerous, and he used to be one of their higher ups. So interesting person. May is another fool. How did we get rid of these idiots? So how did we get these idiots in our government? Sorry, slip. Failing upwards is what I'd like to call it. And unfortunately, people are led by... People are sheep, man. And the parties get to pick the Prime Minister, and then the people get to pick the party. Which is kind of a problem. But anyway. Hugh Grant, another low IQ idiot who thinks acting is real life, needs to be committed to a real life experience. No fame, no fortune, no women. Yes, well, he's probably going to get a lot of women off this whole virtual signaling that he's been doing lately. Apart from that, is there anything that you can think of, or we're just going to wrap it up?
Well, I'd say we've done a pretty good job. Nice and sufficient. Yeah. 1
hour and 50 minutes by the time we finish. Alright guys, obviously for the people that have jumped in late or missed the start or missed the end, whatever it may be, obviously this video will be up, so please feel free to check the whole almost 2-hour version of it. Gotta love that watch time. Apart from that guys, obviously the video has been helpful. Please smack that like button, please click that share button, because there's no way YouTube is going to share our videos. We're just not that advertiser friendly, to be honest. And obviously guys, apart from that, we will see you tomorrow for another video, and then over the weekend I've got a somewhat explosive video coming out for the next 2 weekends in a row. Good night, Raymond. Have a good night, buddy. Apart from that guys, obviously thank you everybody who did turn up. Thank you everybody who stayed for the whole show. Thank you to my co-host for showing up. Hello, thank you, Satellite.
You're welcome.
Apart from that, guys, we will see you tomorrow. Maybe just me. I don't know. Are you going to be able to be on tomorrow?
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah. There shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. If you want to do it earlier, sort of a better idea, I think. But yeah, I'll try not to sleep in. But apart from that, guys, we love you. We see you tomorrow. Have a great night. Enjoy, everybody. Have a great night.